Hello, everybody. My name is Drake. I'm joined by Quacks, and we're back here for Risen Esports Dominate Fall Season Week 3, where we're going to watch WLS take on the Sensei Squad Inari in this best of 3 series. Quacks, how you feeling about the games ahead of us?
Really, really good. I think that both of these teams have a lot to prove. I think that PhD and Champions Picks, or WLS, will probably be commonly referring to them, as that's a pretty long just name in general. I like the acronym more. They have, a decent amount of experienced players. They have Birdo, who's been around for a while, Solbert, who's most likely been around for longer, but they also have a lot of players who I think are really interesting, namely their ADC Arch, who is probably the carry of the team. He's definitely the player that I think we'll be looking out for, in games one specifically, just to see how he sort of matches with Solbert, who, for those of you who don't know, is basically an ADC main. So putting him on support, we'll have to see sort of how that duo pans out. And I think that it's the same thing for Sensei Squad Inari as well. They're a team that have mostly players I have not seen before, but they look like a very interesting team as well. I think notably their bot lane is going to be interesting to watch, has shown a lot of flexibility in the series that they played, picking things like the Ziggs. So I think that there are going to be a lot of twists and turns that we could encounter in this series going forward.
Yeah, 100%. And I think when we're talking about the series going forward and we're talking about, like you were mentioning, stuff that we're expecting to see from these teams, we're talking about our predictions, right? And what everybody can see on our screens, what I see on our screens, right, is that me and you are actually on the same page this week, unlike last week. Good to see, Sensei Squad and Nari going to be taking home the win in our books. And on the opposite side, we do see Verdant Chaos and Stevenator voting towards the opposite side, voting for the PhD. And I think that we're right because they can't defend themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do think that there is a little bit of reasoning that I want to share, voting for Sensei Squad and RA specifically, because I do think that although both of these teams did play the same team and they both did lose, WLS actually went 1-2 in game record versus Inari, who went 0-2. I do think, though, however, that Inari has shown a little bit more flexibility than WLS. And in terms of play style, we've seen specifically um, mid lane be able to throw out things like the Akshan, but then immediately pivot to things like the Swain. So I think that that sort of swap in play style, that sort of swap in unpredictability in draft, could definitely give them an edge if this game goes to 3 games. And as you see by my predictions, I do think it is going to go to 3 games.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's merit for that. But I think, honestly, I was looking at the statistics. We've seen 2 weeks of games so far, right here in Dominate Fall Season, and I was looking. There have only been 2 total series in the 2 weeks. One series each week, actually, and they both had the same team involved. It was POF,
Yep.
and only these 2 series were the series that went to 3 games. So, like, just purely statistically, purely looking at how often we get a 3 game series, I feel like it has to be 2-0. And when you have to predict a 2-0, right? Because it's just higher probability, right? It's like 70, 80, 90 even percent chance that it's going to be a 2-0. I think you have to put your eggs into the basket of the team with more when you're talking about more esteemed experience, right? You're talking about veterans, you're talking about people who have been in the scene for longer, and you're also talking about rank, honestly. When we're looking at members of the side of Sensei Inari, Sensei Squad Inari, sorry, Arch is, I believe, the highest ranked player in this lobby at the moment, master tier. Just looking at both of those things, we have to be, as we're going into draft. If we're putting our eggs into one basket, I'm going to put them into Sensei Squad, but they are on red side first game, so WS might be able to take one.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we throw ourselves into the draft here, we can clearly see that there is a targeted focus on Arch, as we were talking about. They have the Masters player on ADC, who you and I talked about and said that it's probably the most impactful role, at least on a competitive standpoint. Solo queue might be another topic entirely, but yeah, you can see the Ezreal ban, you can see the Xayah ban, both targeted toward Arch, and you can see that there is a little bit of targeting toward Shidoku. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, with that Akshan ban specifically, just making sure that he can't get that, because that is a very oppressive pick to play against, especially when PhD in mid lane likes to play, things like the Syndra that can sort of scale up and set up toward that late game to be bursty.
Yeah, 100%. And as we move further into this draft, past the banning phases, we actually see a Renekton lock immediately for WLS PhD. That's something spicy for sure. And then the Lilia, I think, is really good to be picked up for Birdo in that jungle role. Both junglers like playing the Lilia, so taking that away, I think, super powerful here. And honestly, a really pun intended slept on champion. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Lilia, specifically with the new Rod of Ages tech, has seen a little bit of a resurgence in play, notably in solo queue, because obviously Worlds has not started yet, and basically every major minor region is done with their regular season. So we don't have a great foothold on what's super good in jungle, but Lilia has been, I would say, a prime time champion that has seen a decent amount of pick now that people are starting to realize Rod of Ages is good on her. Seraphine is also another champion that I think is good, has the flex potential. Like everybody knows, but is also good at really excelling those carries, making sure that they can, be bumped up a level in that late game. Might also see a Senna paired with Sensei Squad and Inari. And on the other side, Jarvan and Zeri, two comfort champions for the jungle and the ADC of WLS, have been locked in.
Yeah, and not only comfort, these champions are absolutely busted. I mean, we've seen them for how many seasons now, and J4 making this resurgence in the past few months, in solo queue as well as just pro play. Right, this champion is so strong at the moment. Same with Zeri. Obviously, she got a couple of nerfs, and her duo champions are not as strong as they used to be, like Lulu, notably, as well as Yumi. But either way, this champion has been broken forever. But looking at the Kai'Sa locked on the other side, maybe we're looking at a Seraphine towards the middle lane. I don't know. Solbert could bring anything out in that support role, so I'm not entirely sure. But that's where I'm going to assume that the Seraphine is going for now.
Yeah, I think, like we said, the Seraphine has flex potential, so could go mid lane, could go support here. That Kai'Sa has been locked in. Kai'Sa could even go mid lane. So there is
True.
a lot of potential there. Kai'Sa has been nerfed a few times in the past couple of patches just because Static has taken a lot of hits, and rightfully so. But as we move away from picks, we are going into bans, and it looks like just continuing to hammer away at those marksmen. Ash being banned away. I think they might be anticipating Solbert to maybe put this at the support role, given that Zeri is locked in for WLS. So yeah, probably just targeting Solbert with that Ash ban. And on the other side, more support bans as we see the Nautilus taken away from D-Shot.
Yeah, it's good to see, and obviously a little bit of focus towards that support role. I think Rel is also a really good identifiable band. Like this champion does exactly what Nautilus does. She causes absolute mischief and is really good with this Rel. So good to be taken away. I assume it's going to be another support ban, honestly, going the way of
Hmm.
going towards Sensei Squad Inari.
Maybe
And
Rakan.
then, I don't know. There's a chance for sure. Maybe Comfort is what they're going to lean towards, something that we haven't seen yet. Oh, it's going to be the
Ooh,
Gnar. Okay, they're switching
Gnar.
towards the top side. That's a little bit of a switch up. No, it was the Gnar support, bro. It was the Gnar support.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they saw through the guys that we were having built up over our own eyes. But they do have
Yeah.
to pick, obviously, right here. And I think that when they're looking at stuff, they do need engage. They do need a little bit of a front line with this comp. So that's what I want to be seeing from the support.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, engaged supports have
Oh,
been in the meta for the past couple of patches just in general, and it looks like it is actually going to be the Malphite pick here in the top lane. This is a champion that is good against Renekton if it can at least try to stall the lane, but Renekton obviously does have that Shield Breaker W, which can just straight up go through the Malphite passive. It's a small interaction and never really, I would say, makes a huge difference as
mm,
far as, tradings go, but it is definitely something to be aware of. But Malphite definitely has uses against a champion like Renekton, is able to really slow down that pattern of combos that Renekton likes to go for. Once you get the steel caps enabled, Renekton will have a pretty bad time trying to deal any kind of damage to you. So yeah, this is definitely a matchup that is expected, and I would assume that both top
ooh.
laners have experience on it. And on the other side, we have a Sylas followed by a Galio lock-in here to finish out Blue Side's draft.
Yeah, I mean, crazy response from them. Obviously, Silas is something that maybe slipped through the cracks a little bit. I might have even been more afraid of that than the Ash or the Rel in this position. A very strong champion to be picked up into a Malphite, right? Gives him an incredible ult for engage. He's not very sad about a Seraphine ult or even a Lilia ult either. And why not give him a Maokai ult on top of it? He already has one of the best engage ultimates in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So Silas, I can see Silas being an absolute menace in this game. If he manages to get ahead early in this lane, I think that it's going to matter a lot, sort of how he roams and sort of how the team plays for him. The Galio roaming with him, the Jarvan potentially trying to get some of those deep wards to pressure Lilia, because Lilia is a champion that doesn't get on the map nearly as fast as Jarvan. So I'm really looking at Birdo to get on the map early with this pick, make sure that he can apply the early pressure in the lanes that he wants to. Get some deep wards and make sure that the Lilia, can be spotted on those, camps that she will be cycling through as the early game goes by. And if he can do it well enough, I can definitely see this game going very, very quickly in WLS's favor.
Yeah, I could see it snowballing out of control, honestly, and it's definitely something that Inari is going to have to be very, very careful of happening. And it looked like they had a plan through the draft, so maybe this played out exactly how they wanted to. You never know. Obviously, Maokai is really good at disengaging, so it might not be as much of a problem if Silas is looking for those engages because they'll be able to quell him a little bit. They'll be able to keep him under control, but you can see them repicking their champions as we're about to get into game. And I think that looking holistically at these two teams, I'm more afraid of the team with the Silas, with the J4, with the Renekton. Just in my
Hmm.
heart, I see these I see these champions that are going to be diving at me, are going to be jumping at me, and going to be doing tons of damage no matter what stage of the game we're in, unless you're Malphite. Uh, so I personally am terrified looking at that comp. So I'm going to lean more towards them in the draft, at least for now. But looking at the other side, I'm not sure if you're seeing something that I'm not, but that's at least my predictions moving forward is that the draft on the left side of my screen is the one that's going to end up winning.
Yeah, I mean WLS's draft definitely has more of a clear focus, and that is that dive, sort of engage potential pick comp as well, where you have the Renekton W. The flag and drag is also used for picking off potential enemies that are out of position, and that's the style of play that they really enjoyed playing in their first series that they played. Even though they lost, they really stuck with their guns. They enjoyed playing pick. They enjoyed playing team fight. They enjoyed playing engage, and this comp is no exception. This is basically the textbook definition of an engage comp, just constantly going in. But on the other side, I can definitely see Sensei Squad, sort of reacting with their own. They have a decent amount of disengage. They have the Lily asleep. They have Maokai ult, which has a little bit of dual function, being able to just root people in place and run away at the same time. But yeah, I could definitely see this game, if it does go to snowball, going in favor of WLS. But if this game does go to late, where you have Seraphine at those two, maybe three items, same goes for the Lilia and the Kaisa. This is going to be a trio of scalers that are very deadly, and I would expect WLS to have a little bit of difficulty in the game if it goes later.
And there's a lot to dissect here because that's not even the only factors that we have to look at, right? Because you're looking at
Hmm.
the right side, you're looking at Sensei Squad and Nari's draft, and you're also looking at five AP champions if you want to consider Kaisa an AP champion as well. This is
Yeah.
something that we haven't even considered yet, right? But like these champions are gonna all be doing the same type of damage. On the opposite side, you have a little bit more of a spread. So obviously, we're talking about mid game, mid to late, where Seraphine, Kaisa, Lilia are all kind of coming online. Even Maokai kind of just one-shotting people for no reason, and it could get really, really dicey, really, really quick. But on the opposite side, if it gets past that mid-game stage, I really do see a composition with four AP, five AP champions struggling quite a bit. But
Yeah,
moving
for
out of
sure.
like maybe the holistic look at these team comps, looking at just what the champions are and the scaling throughout the game, I think it's important to look at the matchups as well. So as you guys see on your screens, we have a little bit of a sneak peek at the runes. Do you have anything to say about any of these? I mean, Conqueror on both junglers, that's pretty standard, isn't it? But looking towards that top side, I think it was Grasp on the Malphite. Do you think that's pretty standard?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Grasp on Malphite is always standard. You do struggle, before that first recall. So being able to trade back a little bit with Renekton is always, a little bit favorable. Just being able to shore up a few of those weaknesses in that matchup before you're able to get your hands on the plated steel caps and the various other items that can really give Renekton a hard time. But I'm also really looking, sort of at I'm looking at that exhaust from the Kaisa. There are a lot
Mm.
of different spells I can see really attempting to lock her down, such as even the Galio taunt that could be really valuable to have cleanse against, like the Zeri does. Obviously, you're against the Maokai. The Seraphine ult and the Lilia ult can both be cleansed. So cleanse on Zeri is an absolute no-brainer, but I also think it is worth taking. on Kaisa in this game. We'll have to see sort of how that is exploited, if it is exploited by WLS. But other than that, I feel like everything we're seeing on our screens here is pretty stock standard for both comps.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see that obviously Hextech Flash going to be picked up for the Maokai, so we're going to be seeing some spicy stuff going on, maybe
Hmm.
some interesting gank angles, avoiding some vision pockets. But I think that's about it from us with the predictions, with the desk for now until we get into the Rift. So while we go for a short spectator delay, guys, to catch up, to make sure that we're all aligned and ready for the Rift and for the game ahead, we'll see you guys in just a short while, about a minute or 2 minutes time. Cheers. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Summoner's Rift. It's me, Drake, joined by Quacks. We're here to watch the first game between WLS, PhD, and SSI in week 3 of Dominate Fall. Are you ready, Quacks?
Yeah, absolutely. And both of these teams, again, they have something to prove, I feel. They both have, wins on the board. And really, this is a pretty short regular season at just 7 weeks. So this is the third week. So we're really getting to that halfway point. And I think that both of these teams really want to start making their mark and, getting other teams to talk about them, worry about them, potentially prepare for those upcoming playoff matches. And we can see that both teams not doing anything too crazy here, just sort of 5-point defensing. Might see Birdo go for a little bit of a cheese. Has the flag available.
Nah, surely nothing cheeky happens here. Okay, yeah, they just backed off. They got the ward. That's all they wanted. But as obviously we see them kind of back off and things dial down a little bit. I wanted to mention you were talking about them both having a win on the board, but we talked a little bit outside of this game that both of their wins are technically not wins.
Yes, technically, because they both played a team that had a competitive ruling against them, they have not technically played a game and destroyed the Nexus twice to claim a series win. Now, given WLS did actually want to play a game last week, but it ended up being an FF, so they did manage to get a win for themselves. So I am really looking at WLS in this early game to, sort of shore up that early game. Maybe they are a little bit rusty as they didn't have to play last week. and just seeing if they still are on form. Might see a little bit of rust in this early game, but so far, everything's looking pretty normal. You can see in this bot lane, a little bit of pressure, the wave is pushing. And it looks like Lilia is just going to full clear. Curious to see what Birdo is going to do now that he has finished his top side. Could potentially look for a bot lane gank. You can see there is a ward there by Shidaku to protect against a mid gank, or he can maybe just full clear. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I really hope he doesn't skip disruptors here. I mean, I think a lot of J4s sometimes make the mistake of trying to force something in the early game, and I think forcing is kind of the bane of a lot of junglers' existences. So just clearing your camps early if there's nothing to gank, right? Like, the Seraphine is so safe in the mid lane. Silas just wants to survive for now. He has TP, so he's not playing super aggressive, and while Seraphine will kind of just inherently win the lane with her sustain as well as her damage, and mana costs just aren't real. I think you kind of just let your mid laner suffer. He locked in Silas, he's got to live with it, and farm your entire jungle, honestly, and then start looking for those weird ganks, those off time, maybe even invades with your support or with your top laner. But until that time comes, I think it's definitely worth farming on J4, even though people will always tell you, you don't scale well. You don't want to be able to play for the late game. Don't farm. You definitely want to be farming on this champion.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Making sure that you aren't behind as J4 in that early game to be able to transition, some of that gold into a mid to late game threat is really, really important. And we can see that Birdo, having prio in both his side lanes, is actually going to pick up this crab. Zazekiel is going to be forced to go toward that top crab. Will probably be spotted on this ward placed by Cafe. See, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that.
I'm not even going to try and pronounce this. A lot of vowels in these names, we'll get through it. Cafe Chocolata. We'll call him Chocolata,
Yes.
But in the
honestly, I don't know. There's so many name changes in leagues like these. You can never keep them straight. You can never keep up with them. So, yeah, it looks like both teams just pretty stock standard stuff so far. You can see that SSI have developed a little bit of a gold lead, about 300 gold, but isn't really going to materialize into anything too crazy at the moment. And I'm really just looking at Birdo again on this Jarvan to get on the map, try and make an impact at some lane, but you can see that both solo laners have reset, so he probably is going to finish this top side of his map before being able to go on the map itself.
Yeah, and do you think this is a standard buy for the Lilia? I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but I might be just out of touch with Lilia builds. I don't know. Ionian boots first back?
I mean, Ionian boots are definitely an option because you inherently build a lot of items that do have that magic penetration. So, potentially waiting for the Sork shoes is also an option. Obviously not one that Zazekiel is going for, but I honestly feel like it could be better in this game when you are against a champion like Galio, who literally has a magic damage shield, and two champions, the Renekton and the Jarvan, both who are going to be building magic resist. I feel like saving up or trying to attempt to get those magic pen boots is good as kind of a fight here.
Is this an engage? This is not real, no way. Wait. Is he just dead? Superboss has to flash away. There's an ignite, and I don't think Solbert can find any more damage. He has to just back away. Birdo was in the area, but not able to get anything down. And looks like it's just going to be an exchange of summoners.
Yeah, no summoners on Superboss for a little bit here, and this is where
I
really
in the top side,
Cafe? Hold on, top lane.
Oh, the flash away. Oh, he hit 6. He actually got it. He's going to be able to turn the kill onto Spirit Breaker, and he finds the kill first blood. Wow. The Crocodile in this top side.
That's one for the highlight reels, as my gosh, Cafe Chocolata over here went absolutely crazy, flashing for the cannon to get 6, instantly upgrading it into the outplay onto Spirit Breaker, and flash used for both top laners.
The forward? The flash forward? Oh no, the EQ, it did land. It looks like the charm followed through, and Shidoko is just dead in his tracks. 2 kills now for the side of PhD.
Yeah, good pressure there from Birdo. This is exactly what we want to see on the Jarvan. This is exactly what I have been saying we need to see on this pick, making sure that that early pressure is available. And now Shidoku, wave pushing in, flash used, is going to be forced to play really, really passively for the next 5 minutes until that comes up, because you can't avoid it. You don't have any mobility spells on this pick, so getting EQ'd by a Jarvan, followed up by Silas's crowd control and damage, is almost certain death. So Shidoku in a really bad state so far.
Birdo, he doesn't have EQ available. Will he be able to get out of this one? Oh my gosh, the vision play is insane! And he's able to just EQ out of dodge. Doesn't even have flash up for that invade. That was that's something I do in my solo queue games. Luckily, he didn't get punished for it.
Yeah, a little bit of a risky move there from Birdo. If he managed to get caught, that is Shidoku potentially getting back into the game, which is not something you want to see, especially after you made such a good play there in mid lane like 30 seconds ago. But now you can see Ezekiel is on the top side. Birdo has not yet gone out for a reset. Still has a decent amount of his camps up, and it looks like he is just going to be going potentially for this dragon. Bot lane is pushing.
Yeah, he has a considerable amount of gold in his pocket. I think it's 2,000 gold in his pocket. I'm not sure what he's doing, but in this top side, there is a little bit of a skerfuffle. Cafe is just going to be able to slice and dice his way out of that one, but Lilia is in the area, has level 6. The Malphite ult comes down. Will the Renekton be able to find his way out of this one? I don't think so. He's drowsy. He's slept. There's a little bit of damage coming down, but Zazikel can't quite finish him off. There you go. The Q is enough, and a kill is finally recovered by Sensei Squad Inari.
Yeah, and that's exactly the call that Birdo wanted to maybe go for this dragon. You can see that Ezekiel is on the top side. PhD in mid lane actually has vision of him.
Is he actually just going to be able to kill him? The deer is trying to run away. She has so much movement speed. The R comes out, but won't be repressed, and the flash away is enough. But, I mean, really good play from from PhD to be able to deny that Rift Herald take, and you can see J4 in this bot side already taking so much of the enemy jungle.
Oh, Soulbert?
Wait, Soulbert? No, there's no way. He actually found a pretty good engage super fast. Over the wall is the J4. The Cataclysm is in, and D-Shot is caught in the walls. Birdo is able to get his way out of that one for now. He ends up dying. The flash forward from Arch does secure the kill, and it will come out with Sensei Squad in the dirt and PhD on top once more.
Yeah, a little bit of an unfortunate turn of events there from D-Shot, trying to flash over the Cataclysm, managed to not make it though, so that is going to be 2 kills going over to the side of WLS. So I really want to start to see them, you know, try and transition these kills into objectives. You can see that Ezekiel tried to do that with the Herald, but to no avail. But I think Birdo not going for the dragon there is a little bit of a mistake, as Shidoku going to take a little bit of a chunk out of PhD in mid lane, take a little bit of a chunk out of his health. But yeah, this Jarvan going for these dragons is really imperative, especially when we talked about the importance of scaling on this red team. You have the Seraphine, you have the Lilia, you have the Kai'Sa. Being able to deny these potential dragons away from them is really important, and I feel like not going for the dragons on this Jarvan when you have the priority to do it is a bit of a mistake.
100%, and it might have been a case of waiting for Soulbert to secure that level 6. I mean, we talked about it a little bit when we were talking about just the team comps and how they interacted with each other, but I think it's really important to note that obviously there is the Galio J4 combination. We usually saw it in the mid jungle duo, but right now we're seeing it in the support jungle duo. Either way, it's very strong. Cafe, I'm not sure you're in the right place, bud. Okay, the deer is in the lane. The R comes out from Malphite. Spearbreaker finds the CC, and it is enough damage from the deer to be able to secure the kill onto the crocodile in the top side.
Yeah, 2 kills going onto Ezekiel this early on, and little to no punish from Birdo here. He is on the top side of the map, but Ezekiel's camps are spawning, so this Lilia is eating really good. 9 CS up ahead of Birdo is a little bit of an engage, a scuffle in the bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, a really good disengage, honestly, from D-Shot, saving his ADC a little bit of damage, but Superfloss is still so low. They're getting punished so much in this bottom lane. 30 CS down now is Superfloss. I mean, this is just an absolute monstrosity in the bot side. Soulbert finds the engage onto D-Shot, and D-Shot will just get deleted if he's... Oh, he's actually able to find his way out of that one. Arch is actually exhausted, and the turn comes out from Superfloss. He finds the kill! And will he be able to find any more follow-ups? Soulbert is low. He tries to find the re-engage, but he gets punished for it. A really good play coming out from Superfloss in this bot side.
Yeah, really, really nice micro there from Superfloss. D-Shot basically managed to waste all of the important cooldowns from Arch and Soulbert both, so they really had nothing up to be able to deal with this Kai'Sa, and it ended up just being her mowing them down at low HP, and now they're going to be able to transition this into a dragon. This is really good for the Sensei Squad Inari team, as they are managing to get their scaling online here before, you know, that 14-minute mark, before those top laners are able to break in, as we see a bit of a scuffle in the mid lane.
Oh, the Galio ulti comes out, and Shidoku should be deleted. It looks like a follow-up onto The deer is there as well, and Zazikel should fall. Silas gets another kill under his belt, and it looks like PhD WLS are not gonna back down just yet.
Yeah, it feels like almost a little bit of a greedy play here from Inari to continue to go for pressure after making such a crucial bot lane play into a dragon. It feels like you just want to sort of go home after a good day's work. It's like when you work an 8-hour shift and you are like, man, that was a good day. I want to go home and watch some Netflix. But basically what Sensei Squad Inari did right there was continue to work for 2 more hours, and then they got a bunch of angry customers, so it made their day worse. So ultimately, Sensei Squad Inari managed to pick up 2 very good things for themselves, both a bot trade and a dragon, but feels a little greedy to go for something in the mid lane there.
Yeah, it definitely was, and I mean, it's proven by the fact that they ended up getting punished for it, right? And no more shutdowns on the side of Inari to defend, I guess. So you can fight a little bit more greedily from now on. I mean, you're already in a position where, like you said, they are the more scaling comps, so they want to be able to keep up with the pressure that the enemy team is putting out. And at the moment, they were driving the pressure. I'm not sure if WLS have taken control just yet, moving towards these next objectives. But I mean, keeping up is really key. And now that there are a couple of shutdowns on the side of WLS, at least Inari have something to look forward to in these fights.
Yeah, and Birdo, we didn't talk about it, but Birdo actually managed to make the pressure work this time and managed to get that Herald up for himself. Now the real question is, what lane is he going to push to? You can see that there are already so many plates taken from WLS in that bot lane. Only 1 plate remains, but turret plates are dropping soon, as you could just see the prompt. So I really want to see this Jarvan go for the Herald.
Oh, what a great engage coming out from PhD in the mid lane. They do end up getting a kill onto the Seraphine, and I do think that the Rift Herald will be looking towards this mid lane for the plates. It does end up getting dropped, and I don't think Zazikel can defend it on his own.
Yeah, and it manages to get the charge right before the plates drop, as you said, Drake. So going to see more gold go into the pockets of PhD in mid lane and Birdo, the 2 carries of the team at the moment.
Birdo? Okay, he's just out. He's just out. I mean, it's that simple. It's that simple. You know, I didn't have flash up. I pressed EQ. I got out. You know. Oh, really good flash forward from Solbert. It finds a taunt on a D shot, but the E doesn't connect, and he has to just disengage. The Silas over the wall, the J4 as well. Will the Cataclysm actually end up coming out? No, it's a disengage. They saw the Seraphine, and it was enough to scare them away.
Yeah, now there really are no objectives to play for either of these teams. You can see that this Dragon is about 2 minutes away, and the Herald will not be spawning anytime soon as well. So now it's just about pressure in this jungle, and you can see they might be looking for something.
They were sniffing it out. Looks like, oh, do they know? No, they don't know. EQ out, and it is a Cataclysm onto Shidoko. He has the he has the charm, but it won't be enough to save his life. Nowhere near, in fact, and he ends up dying to PhD in the mid lane. It looks like D-Shot is here. Flash over the wall. Really, a really aggressive play coming out from him. I guess Malphite is in the area, so it is enough. Gallia will end up falling. Birdo is exhausted, and PhD is caught in the middle of 3 members. It looks like Birdo will not be able to live through this one, but will PhD and Renekton be able to find something off the back of it? It looks like Malphite dies. It looks like Kaisa dies. It looks like the Deer will follow shortly afterwards. Not quite the flash away, and now follow up from Zeri. And it looks like Malphite is the last one standing for poor Sensei Squad Inari.
They might be looking for him. No, I don't think they can find him. But yeah, really well played there from WLS, and specifically Cafe, coming in really late toward the fight, but managed to make it count. And also Arch managing to hold that lightning crash until much later in the fight, where the members of Sensei Squad were super duper low, and it managed to have its maximum amount of value. So overall, well played from them, just from a micro perspective. And now the Dragon is up, and they are ahead in gold. I have to imagine they want to start taking these Dragons to deny Sensei Squad Inari any more ability to scale now that they have that first Dragon in pocket.
And it's a super weird position to be in, right? Because when you talk about fights like these, when you talk about making variance in games, you obviously are going to favor variance towards the team that wants to... Okay, well, Seraphine's just dead on my screen. Never mind. Guys, I was trying to make a point, but, you know, it's fine. Face check the bush, die. All right. Now I can talk about what I was going to talk about. But what I was going to say is there's a lot of variance in these games, and what you want as a team on the left side of our screens, what you want as WLS is a game with variance, because you want to be able to push the tempo. You want to be able to take these fights and just accelerate yourself as much as possible, right, in these early stages. And it's kind of the mistake that Inari is making by taking these fights. Because you would think, oh, we're behind, you know, we trade evenly, and it's good for us because that's just the standard thought process.
Ezekiel, you're
No,
on the
it's
wrong
Ezekiel.
side of the map, my friend.
Okay, the sleep comes out. Will Spirit Breaker be able to find his deer out of the river? He will, in fact. What is going on? Guys, relax. You're the team that wants to scale. Stop forcing stuff. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, they keep on forcing stuff, and overall it's just costing them summoners. You can see that both Ezekiel and Spirit Breaker were forced to use their ultimates to bail out the player from the enemy's jungle. And now, right before the Herald is spawning, right when you might want those summoners to potentially be up, they aren't. So I have to imagine they give this Herald. If they don't give this Herald, this could be really bad for them. Then again, Ezekiel does have the upgraded Smite, so could look for a steal.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no way this is a good decision. I guess Malphite just doesn't take any damage. Spirit Breaker is just in the middle of 4 members and not dying. Okay, the Malphite engage. PhD finds something. The Galio ult is there to follow up. The deer is dead. Spirit Breaker is not long to live either. And Super Foss and Maokai on the opposite side do end up getting deleted. Super Foss actually not quite dead. There you go. It is the kill on the Arch. The double kill. Will he get the triple? The W goes a little bit wide, but there should be follow-up from the turret. That's turret range?
I mean, it happens to everyone, as we can see a lot of Mastery 7 spam coming in here from the top end ADC of WLS. They took the ace, they took the turret, they took the Herald now, and they're looking to take game 1 here with this gold lead.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. 7K, and we were talking about them already being a team that wants to be able to thrive in this stage of the game, right? We talked about them being maybe stronger when they're towards the full build stage. This is not what you want to see if you're Sensei Squad Inari, and it's a telltale sign of a lost game, but it is nowhere near over, right? These games are 100% winnable. It's nothing like I've seen. I've seen comebacks at 13K. You know, I've seen comebacks at 20K. It's not very common, but it's definitely doable. And I think that what they need to be doing at this point is just calming themselves down, letting themselves play around what they know they can. And just like I said, don't push the pressure. It's not on you, right? You just need to turtle, hold your base. The longer you live, the stronger your team gets. Stop forcing stuff. Honestly, that's my only that's the only way that I see out of this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can see that Ezekiel's build on this Lilia, he has actually gone for the Warden's Mail here, so not going to be going for the full AP build. I have to call this into question given that you are going the Liandry's Anguish, so you have already sort of committed to that magic damage build that Lilia likes to go, but now pivoting toward the tank into what I imagine is most likely going to be a Frozen Heart. Seems a little bit strange to me. It just feels like your purpose is one thing with that Liandry's Anguish, and you're completely contradicting it by building Warden's Mail.
Yeah, I think there is an argument. Okay. It looks like Berto's just finding himself caught in the middle of 3 members. He flashes over the wall. It is not enough to get away from Super Foss. And it will be a kill, a shutdown onto this Kaisa. Finally getting some gold back into her pockets. And there we go. We let them overextend. We let them make the mistake. And we won in this exchange.
Yeah, absolutely. Managing to just get one single shutdown is really valuable, especially with that going over to Super Foss, the Kaisa, who, as we talked about, is going to have to be the sole, user of attack damage in this lobby. But yeah, surely we aren't forcing Baron. You can see Ezekiel's not even with his team.
Really good Dominus, really good Q. Does find so many members. Cafe flashes forward and finds Super Foss. The Seraphine dies on the opposite side. The Galio knockup is enough to get Super Spirit Breaker into the dirt. And the Maokai doesn't even manage to waddle away. 4 kills for the side of WLS PhD.
Yeah, I mean, WLS PhD just capitalizing on the overextension of Sensei Squad again. The fact that they were even in the pit, they walked over so much vision. You can see the line of vision that WLS PhD have set up for themselves, and they walked over all of it. They were completely exposed and completely punished, as now the Baron is going over to the blue team, just furthering that gold lead now to 11K.
Yeah, and we were talking about both these teams having so much to prove in this series, right? They both want to be able to find their own deserved win so far in this fall season, right? And they're both probably very desperate for it. And I think that desperation is just showing a little bit too much for the side of Sensei Squad Inari in this first game. I think, obviously, they go back to the drawing board in game 2 if they end up losing this one. And they're able to just clearly identify, guys, we pushed the pressure a little bit too much. We had the scaling comp, and we just need to sit back a little bit more because they've had moments so far in this game that have looked really, really good, but they just weren't the moments that they were forcing stuff like that Baron play.
Yeah, absolutely. And now it looks
Spearbreaker?
like
Yeah, he's just dead.
PhD is
He's
just
just
gonna
dead.
go for a solo kill. Yeah, just a solo kill onto the rock. That's not something you see typically in these mid to late games.
And Solbert is finding himself in the middle of 3 members, and he's not taking any damage. Renekton is finding the engage as well onto the deer, and the deer is dead. Superfoss is sure to get caught for now. Silas won't be able to find enough damage. PhD has to disengage, and either way, that's 2 kills now onto the side of WLS, and they're just knocking on the base. It looks like, hold that thought, D-Shot might end up dying as well. The turret will, and so will he, falling with his base. A valiant effort, but not enough effort indeed, as both inhibitor turrets are now being knocked on by the side of WLS.
Yeah, Arch managing to take the turret, and they most likely are going to get the inhib. So it really is just about pressuring the other lanes, trying to get double, maybe triple inhib to keep the pressure up, because at this point, their health bars are a little bit low. So unless SSI really overextend, ending the game is not a feasible option as Spiritbreaker. As I say that...
Hold on. All right, it looked good. I saw the angle. Solbert maybe overextending, but no follow-up from your team means you're just a rock slamming into people and knocking them up. You're not really doing any damage.
Yeah, for sure. And we can see that WLS PhD are just knocking on the base, looking to get this bot lane turret down along with the inhib potentially. Ultimates have come back up for the blue team's members, so they could look for a fight. No unstoppable force available here for Sensei Squad, so going in for this engage is really risky.
Oh, a really good Seraphine ultimate coming out from PhD in the mid lane. Spearbreaker is caught up, knocked up, and deleted. It looks like D-Shot will be sure to follow. He actually manages to get to his base. Drowsy actually falling onto 2 members. The Seraphine ultimate in response, is it enough? It doesn't look like it is. Silas is doing so much damage. He actually ends up dying, but will it be a Zeri moment? Yes, it will indeed. 3 kills on 2. Arch, will he find a 4th? It's a quadra kill in the base of Sensei Squad Inari, taking game 1 in this best of 3 series.
Yeah, 13, 1, and 4 on this Zeri to end out the game. Arch really putting on a performance there in game 1. Had a little bit of a scuffle, giving the Kaisa a double kill early on, but again, Sensei Squad Inari just continue to overextend. They continue to push their luck ever so slightly, and they continue to get punished for it, which eventually led to the game just being completely out of their hands. And yeah, like you said, Drake, we really want to see from this red team, we really want to see them stop overextending, stop taking fights that aren't guaranteed, make sure that you can make the most out of your leads and not just coin flip games constantly. I know we're from North America. I know we like burger flipping, but come on, we don't have to follow the pros all the time, do we?
Yeah, we don't have to follow the pros or the protocol for NA all the time. And even looking at that post-game breakdown, right, the gold graphs show everything. This was a very calm and collected play from WLS. They knew what they were doing from the start. They came in, they developed a gold lead from, I think that's minute 6. I think they started developing their gold lead, and they did not let go at all. And I think that that does come from just a little bit of inaccurate play coming out from Inari, right? We were talking about them being a little shaky. It's game 1, you know. Everybody's shaking off the nerves. Everybody's shaking off the rust, even. And hopefully we see an entirely different squad coming back after they go back to the drawing boards from that one.
Yeah, and for sure. And this is where I think that, Sensei Squad's flexibility could really come into play. Obviously, meeting you know, PhD WLS head on, engage to engage, fire with fire, didn't really seem to work out. And so maybe they want to pivot to a completely different playstyle. Maybe they want to pivot to having their top laner on side lane. I think that basically doing anything other than what you did in game 1, or unless you're really confident in what you did in game 1, is probably better than what happened this game, where they just overextended constantly and ended up getting punished for it. So really good awareness here from WLS on those punishes. But Sensei Squad and Ari probably going to have to go back to the drawing board, I imagine, just try to find a different way around this team to make it go to 3 games.
And I think there's a lot to look forward to from that game, right? You're not showing a very weak team. You're not showing a very weak version of yourselves, right? These players weren't terribly getting deleted in these side lanes or even in the bot lane, right? I mean, sorry, in these side lanes or in the mid lane or in the jungle even. All of these lanes were doing well enough on their own, right? They were pretty even for the most part in the early stages of the game. They weren't getting supremely outclassed, and they seemed pretty comfortable in their champions. I think it was just a couple of disconnects in the team. I think it was a little bit of a lack of teamwork towards the middle stages of the game. We were talking about vision, I think was a really big struggling point for
Mhm.
them. And I think if they can just relax, start having a little bit better comms in that second game, we could see an entirely different team come out because their hands weren't terrible. Obviously, they did get out
No, by
microed
no
a little
means.
bit, but like they had moments for sure. We saw the Kaisa re-engage. I hope that we can see an entirely different squad come out in game two, and I hope that your prediction is at least right that this is a 3-game series.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess with that, we are going to hop over to a short little break while we wait for the draft lull to go over to game two. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more WLS versus Sensei Squad Inari. See you soon.
Hello, everybody. My name's Drake. I'm joined by Quacks once again, and we're here for game two of this series between WLS and Sensei Squad Inari for Risen Dominate Fall Week 3. Quacks, that was an insane game we just watched. We're about to get into draft for game two already, and we're already seeing some development. Sensei Squad Inari going to be taking the blue side this time. Do you think that's the right call?
I mean, absolutely, and I would assume that they are doing it because they want a pro pick. Like the Jarvan, they even beat me to it. So Jarvan going to be insta-locked here for Sensei Squad Inari. Obviously, the pick has not lost any of its value despite the Jarvan nerfs and despite the Sojin nerfs. The combo with the item plus the champion is still ridiculously broken in the jungle, provides you so much early pressure and really good access to get into that mid to late game as a champion that tends to be very early game centric. And it looks like WLS are going to stick to their guns and actually lock in the Zeri. Arch
Ooh.
definitely looked lethal on it, and they're going to pair Zeri with a marksman this time. The Graves coming out here for Birdo.
Birdo's kind of crazy on it. I'm gonna be honest. Like, this is one of
Hmm.
his more confident champions. This is something I've already seen him on in the past, and I know that he's good on it. But Graves hasn't been doing too hot in the meta at the moment. I mean, like, he's always been strong, but hasn't been as prevalent. We already see the Swain coming out from the opposite side, and these are already champions that I'm afraid Graves might not be able to cut through if they get towards a little bit more of those tankier stages. We'll
Hmm.
have to see, obviously, what else comes out, but definitely some spicy stuff going on. I really like the Swain pick coming out from Sensei Squad, though.
Yeah, and a little bit more on the Graves here is that the commonly the build right now is typically the lethality build, just going into Duskblade, maybe Umbral, with it being so cheap. But against this comp, I cannot see Duskblade lethality Graves really working at all unless he gets really far ahead early. So unless Birdo is really confident in his ability to play and pilot that Graves against this Jarvan, I would assume maybe we could see something more in tune like a Gore Drinker, potentially, maybe something more in line with Bruiser Graves, that has fallen a little bit out of favor lately, but is still prevalent. And it looks like SSI are going to pair their team comp with a Caitlyn and then a Cassiopeia coming in from WLS. Not sure I agree with this Caitlyn, given the amount of engage and team fight potential drafted here from the first two picks from Sensei Squad and Inari. It feels like this Caitlyn being a poke champion is a little bit off in terms of theme.
Yeah, I could see that, and obviously Swain does his best to poke if he's able to land his W's as well as like his ranged abilities, right? Because he's a ranged champion, but they're not the most ranged abilities in the world. And I mean J4 follow up, I guess I can kind of see it thematically if you just want to be able to from across the map, you know, you Swain W somebody, you EQ with J4, and then like Caitlyn follow up with R. I mean, there are squishy members on the side of WLS, right? None of these members are very tanky at the moment. You were talking about Graves maybe going towards the Bruiser build. Obviously, Cassiopeia is a mage in 2023, so she's going to have 3 billion health anyways for fun. But they should be relatively squishy champions, so there might be an opportunity for just one-shotting somebody from across the map. We see some bans coming out, though. Ornn and Malphite, good bans from WLS. Obviously, those are champions that they can't cut through with the champions that they have at the moment. And just honestly, ban all engaged champions. It looks like SSI are on the same boat, banning the Rexen, banning the Galio, making sure no engage is happening in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. But engage is still possible, especially from WLS. You can see a lot of those primetime engage supports are still left available. The Rel is
True.
up, the Rakan is up, the Alistar, maybe even the Braum could be good for a champion like Zeri being able to
Ooh,
proc those
Alistar.
passives. Yeah, and it looks like WLS are going to lock in that Alistar. So a decent amount of engage coming in here through this bot lane. Zeri and Alistar, pretty lethal combo if they can go in at around the same time and really unload their combos and spells to one shot Caitlyn and whoever she's paired up with. This could potentially be a Swain support, but I have to imagine it's probably going to go in the mid lane. As
There's
I
no way
say
this is
that,
Lux support. There's no way this actually Lux support. What is happening on my screen? What is going on? Okay,
I
we're gonna
mean,
see Lux support in
it
2023.
could it could be either or, as Jace is locked in here to as the final pick to Sensei Squad Inari. Shidoku did play Jace in his most previous series, so this could go mid lane, but I can't imagine it goes mid lane when Jace really is just stuck on top lane here. And yeah, it looks like WLS are going to smartly save their top laner for last pick, potentially a
No, it's true.
Tryndamere here. This
Okay.
champion is still buffed. Aatrox
No, okay.
also is still strong.
All right, we're not getting okay. Okay, it's a little spicy. Camille's pretty strong, and she always has been just broken champion, right? Cho'Gath R on her Q, it's pretty standard. It hasn't changed in centuries. True damage, you know, like yeah, everybody knows, you know, everybody knows about Camille. I am hoping that it's played into the Jace in this top side, and that's what we're going to be seeing. Maybe a Swain mid with the Lux support. Swain is actually one of Shidoku's more played champions as well. So he could play the Jace, he could play the Swain. We're not entirely sure yet. But I do think for sure that is going to be a Lux in the support role. Played on D Shot. He is a Zyra player. I mean, I'm calling it right now. I think that's Lux support. But either way, we have some wonky stuff going on our
I
screens
mean,
right now.
Lux support seems so off here. You get engaged by Alistar and Zeri, and there's nothing you can do. Meanwhile, on the other side, Swain has the ability, especially once he hits 6, to really turn that fight around, root up enemies so that the traps from Caitlyn can easily land. It just feels like Swain as a champion is harder to burst down and can even heal up and punish you potentially for going in on him if he does have that demonic ascension available. So it feels like this Lux is a little bit out of place, especially in the support role. I feel like it
Yeah,
could be better in the mid lane, but we'll have to wait and see how it plays out because, like you said, he might be
there
more
you go.
familiar with it in execution. It might be better. So yeah, that is going to be a Lux support. Drake, you are completely correct.
Not that I'm happy about it. This is an interesting draft coming out from
Hmm.
SSI, if I have to say so myself. Swain also, like, the play pattern into Cassiopeia, like, her miasma is in range of all of your abilities besides your
Yeah.
W. So like, it's just I don't know how this is gonna play out. Like, obviously, and then if you reactivate your E, you're looking at her, so R range is just awkward. Obviously, we'll see how it all plays out. But for now, I definitely think somebody let Sensei Squad cook a little bit too much. But comfort is king, especially in this level of play. Like, it's not at the level where it's just professional. Everybody plays what's good, what works well together. It doesn't always have to be coherent or cohesive. If you play well in lane, you dominate, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do think that Sensei Squad Inari's comp is a little bit. I'm really confused as to what the theme is supposed to be here. They have Engage with champions like Jarvan, but they also have Poke with essentially everybody else. Swain can kind of act as sort of that middleman between Engage and being able to poke or attack you from afar. So it feels like this Jarvan is a little bit out of place. I think that they honestly probably just picked that because they wanted the champion for themselves instead of just giving it over to WLS PhD again. But it just feels so out of theme with what is drafted here on this blue team.
It definitely made for an interesting situation, especially because you also first picked it. So now you're in a position where the opposite side, right? WLS picked dash champions on every single role besides Cassiopeia, who's kind of
Yeah.
fine with being in that cataclysm. Kind of. Obviously, she can be the one person to save her flash for the cataclysm besides everybody else who can just dash over it. So it's not going to be as effective. Obviously, even landing the EQ is going to be a little bit harder than it has to be. So we're obviously going to have to see how it all plays out. And we do have a couple of graphics, I believe, for runes, and I think we can look at that a little bit, which might play a little bit more of a role than we were thinking, because obviously the way that these lanes play out, we look at the summoners even coming out, Jace in this top side into Camille. If Jace absolutely ruins this Camille's life, then it could be a completely different game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this top side matchup is much more volatile than the one we saw in game one. I think that there is supposed to be, a few things that happen in this top lane. I think that junglers should definitely not ignore top lane, like you obviously so much in solo queue. I
Of
think that this
course.
matchup has a lot of volatility, especially, to transition your lead into late game. These are two champions that really have a lot of pressure they can apply in those late game, team fights. Jace obviously is able to land out that EQ, probably going to go for that Eclipse Man Immune build that's still, within style that everyone is going. So I would imagine that junglers are going to play for top lane at least a few times, but obviously probably going to go for bot lane as well. So those side lanes are going to be very important. I am watching for them. You can see that there is going to be pretty stock standard runes for essentially everybody in this game. Arcane Comet coming in here from the Lux, so going to be going, that damage. So it is going to be a damage bot lane here for the Sensei squad, and I really want to see this Jarvan in this early game really play for that.
And I mean, talking about early game, I think it's also very important to note that we were saying that WLS have so much going for them in this draft, right? We were saying that they have so
Hmm.
much better team composition. They have such a better scaling opportunity, right? They just have a better damage spread, even if you're looking at their champions. But I think that something we didn't note is the competency of Sensei Squad Inari's team in the early game. I think
Yeah,
besides maybe notably Jace, you're looking at J4, who's a playmaker in the early game. You're looking at Swain, who's definitely able to push in and move quicker than Cassiopeia will be able to, right? And then you're
yeah.
also looking at this bot lane that is absolutely oppressive in the early game. You'll be able to push in Zeri, Alistar. You'll be able to move around the map, and you'll be able to help your jungler facilitate something in the early game. So I think if we're going to look at anything but for this game, for Sensei Squad Inari, I think it does have to be in these first 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And Berto on this Graves definitely is going to. I'm definitely going to be looking at this Graves to, really snowball and try to get ahead. In those minutes that you were talking about, Drake, because we have a lot of push potential from um Shidoku and the bot lane of Sensei Squad Inari to be able to give Jarvan the ability to counter gank. So I'm really curious to see how Berto is going to play around that. So while we wait for the teams to actually go into the game, we are going to take a small, very small, actually, little break. So we'll see you all soon. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Summoner's Rift. My name is Drake. I'm joined by Quacks, and we have here for you Game 2 between WLS and Sensei Squad Inari. On our left will be Sensei Squad Inari, and on our right, as you can see in the graphic, so duly placed in the top of your screens, is going to be WLS. Quacks, how excited are we for Game 2 here?
Really excited. I really want to see what Sensei Squad and Inari have, in store for this game. Obviously, they looked really, really good, I want to say, in the early game of that game one, but really just fell behind in the mid to late game. The superior macro and micro, I will say, from WLS managed to really pay off. They managed to get objectives, albeit a little bit later than I would have liked, but they trailblazed ahead toward that mid to late game, and the rest was history. So I want to see how Sensei Squad and Inari react. They have already drafted themselves what I like to think is a poke comp. Obviously, you have the Jarvan, which you and I already criticized a little bit, Drake, as just being there to be there because the champion is OP. But for the most part, I think that Sensei Squad and Ari are looking for a different style of game, and I'm really curious to see how it pans out.
Yeah, I really hope it pans out well, because obviously we want 3 games, bro. We want to see some action. And we already see some differences between Game 1 and Game 2. You can see J4 skipping his second camp, actually moving straight into this bot lane. Might be looking for some sort of cheese or invade. And similarly, you also see Graves soloing his top side, which is something that we didn't see in the last game. We saw leashes. So we'll see if anything plays out for either of these two teams because of these. Ooh, looks like Graves went over the... Yeah, go on.
They're playing in the bush, so he is definitely waiting for quite a long time.
Ooh. You can see... It has to work out, doesn't it?
Yeah, Berto is on. You can see he's on a ward.
Oh, the EQ doesn't land, and he gets knocked up. It's doomed. You wasted so much time, and now your top camp saw it's Jover.
Yeah, that's really bad for Ziziko, but luckily he does see Berto, on that top side. And they are pushing in. You can see that Shidoku and Spirit Breaker are going down there, but Arch is also meeting up to that jungle camp. Eventually.
Okay. It does look like Zezikel is going to be fine. And Berto, will he actually be in a little bit of a pickle? The Swain is over the wall. The Spirit Breaker is here. He actually tossed Berto into the wall, and the flash over isn't enough, but the E is. And Berto will be out. Has to burn his flash for a blue buff. I'm not sure it's a worthy trade, but he's going to go back for seconds.
Yeah, he is not quitting yet, and the ward did just expire, so he is not going to be seen on it. They think he probably went back to his bot camps. They didn't, they probably aren't anticipating about this, but you can also see that PhD in mid lane is
Cassio?
roaming up here toward the Gromp.
No, there's no way. Oh, the EQ actually still goes over, even though the miasma was there, but Zezikel is definitely dead, and it is a first blood onto this snake in the mid lane.
Yeah, and now Birdo is in, you know, he's within bounds to potentially be able to look for a 3 camp here. Is going to be able to take this crab away, as well as you can see Ezekiel is going to just make his way down to the bot lane. But yeah, it looks like we are looking at a split map here for this game too, with Ezekiel just being on the bot lane and Birdo being on the top lane. And a lot of trading coming in here from PhD in mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, PhD is an absolute monster. We were talking about the matchup already not being great for Swain. We see an engage from Solbert actually in the bot lane. D-Shot is trying to find some sort of damage. He actually gets trapped, and he's going to take quite a bit of damage from that Caitlyn Lux combo. And, you know, while all members of the side of WLS are thriving, it does look like the bot lane is at least being punished slightly.
Yeah, being punished slightly for sure. But now I'm really looking at this mid lane. PhD in mid lane does have the double buffs available, so it's going to put a lot of pressure onto this Swain. And yeah, this is looking pretty dire here for Shidoku to just try and attempt to farm. You can see that this cast is literally just zoning him off of the wave. Obviously, the camera isn't panned toward. Oh, now it is. But yeah, the waves are pushing in. It is actually pushing in for PhD in mid lane. So for a time, Shidoku is just going to have to wait for it to crash underneath his tower. But until then, he's probably just going to be bullied.
Oh, but on the top side, Cafe is finding quite a bit of damage onto the Jace, but it won't be enough to kill. Very low is Spirit Breaker in this top side. You have to back, but will he actually get dove? Cafe's in the area. Oh, he's looking for something. The flash away is too early, and just one kill is enough. Cafe gets the kill secured, and that's 2 kills now in the pockets of WLS.
Yeah, I mean, Cafe Chocolate has a lot of patience to just be able to wait out that flash. So a little bit unfortunate there from Spirit Breaker, but now I'm looking at Birdo to potentially go back toward that top lane, try and gank the flashless Spirit Breaker and just see what else you can put on for this top lane, who is already ahead. You can see that the CS difference in top is pretty significant.
Oh.
Ooh, Arch.
Yeah, it is just such a hard lane to deal with. I mean, we played it in solo queue. Everybody has. Caitlyn lanes are dreadful. Caitlyn with any sort of enchanter that has a CC ability like Lux or like Morgana is even more dreadful. The flash forward actually in the mid lane though, PhD is able to find damage onto Shidoko. The flash away, will it be enough to dodge the ticking damage though? It will, barely. And it looks like Shidoko will be able to manage to get his way out of that one, but he burned everything but except his life.
Yeah, and Birdo is, you can see, is covering for this bot lane. He hasn't actually reset yet on this Graves. Can we get a little bit of a look at how much gold he's actually saving up? Yeah, he has a lot of gold, 1,400 here for the Graves. So going to be able to spend it. I'm really curious to see what he is going to be purchasing on this back. And yeah, it is actually going to be the serrated Dirk. So really relying on that early game pressure to be applied for this Graves and set up for his lanes, because this could very well fall off. This could very well blow up in Birdo's face if he doesn't manage to get ahead early, because like we talked about, the front line of Ezekiel and Shidoku on the Swain, on this Jarvan, could tank up a full combo from Jarvan, from Graves, and that's never good.
Yeah, but I mean, when we're talking about itemization, when we're talking about damage going down onto this J4, onto the Swain, I think that something else even more important to note. Oh, scratch that. Cafe is looking for damage on his Ezekiel. Oh,
he's in tower range.
Yeah, surely that's the next tech ultimatum was a little bit glitchy, and so as we're looking towards this bottom side, though, Superfuss is finding damage, but Arch is finding much more back. Double ignite down onto both of these ADCs, and it's a little bit of a dicey game going on both sides of the map.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a lot more of a bloody game than what we saw in game one, and I really like to see that. As you can see, Birdo is actually just going to take and recycle all of the camps on Ezekiel's side of the map. This Jarvan is around 20 CS behind, 7.5 minutes in the game. Really has to look for something, has to look for plays on the ganks, because you are not going to be winning this game by scaling. You're not going to be able to farm your way out of this. You're going to have to go through, be aggressive on this pick.
Yeah, and it's so sad because it's not even the Graves that's the problem. I was going to mention this earlier, but the Cassiopeia, we were talking about building that Catalyst of Eons, going to be moving into the Roa, right? She's already strong. She's already 20 CS ahead. She had double buffs in the early game, and she's an absolute monster into the enemy team comp. And let's not even talk about the fact that she hasn't reset yet, that she has so much gold in her pocket. And once she has that Roa built, she's going to be an extra full level lead up on the enemy mid laner. It's just so dreadful for Shidoko and so dreadful for the side of SSI, and I'm not sure how they're going to be able to deal with this Cassiopeia as the game gets later on.
Yeah, and you can see that both mid laners are in a state where they're not in the lane. Yeah, Roa completed here for PhD in mid lane. 8.5 minutes into the game. 74 CS at 8.5 minutes, along with a kill. So Roa completed here really early on. This Cassio, yeah, like you talked about, Drake, is going to be absolutely dreadful to play against. Might even have the power to potentially 1v2 in the mid lane. Have to see if Ezekiel will go for that at any point in the game, but you can see that they're actually going for the Dragon instead.
Yeah, Dragon actually just ends up getting secured. Caitlyn gets the kill, and looks like Sensei Squad are going to be able to pick up something for themselves. Good on them to be able to use a little bit of a window that they found in the resets for WLS to pick up a neutral objective, and honestly, a little bit of a heist. But in this top side, is there going to be a heist coming out from Cafe? A flash forward is enough to secure the kill. And Spirit Breaker surely has a spirit broken after that one. Zazikel has to just forfeit his red buff, and it's just tragedy after tragedy for the side of Sensei Squad.
Yeah, Sensei Squad are really getting pushed out here. You can see that they're even trying to clear vision into their own jungle. They're just not able to get anything. They're not able to claw away any leads. They did get the Mountain Dragon, but now Birdo, top laner of SSI, is dead. He has Prio in the mid lane. I have to imagine he's just going to go for this Herald. And Herald toward any of these lanes is absolutely deadly, considering they are all doing very, very well. You can see that Arch and Silver are a little bit behind Superfoss and D-Shot. So I have to imagine that this is going to go to the mid lane or the top lane. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Herald this early on is really, really big for WLS. And so far, it just feels like they are getting advantage after advantage.
Yeah, it looks quite grim for their side as Shidoko is just trying to walk away. Will he be able to? So much damage coming out from PhD, and he is going to be able to find enough for the kill.
Wow!
A solo bolo in this mid lane.
Yeah, solo kill there for PhD in the mid lane, and a bad situation becomes worse. They're about 3.5k gold up here at 10 minutes into the game. A huge gold lead, and you can see Birdo, he's not done with the pressure yet. Right after Herald, he goes for the camp.
And he gets it. He gets the Gromp. He gets the damage. Zazikel misses the EQ. He's just tilted at this point. The Cataclysm isn't enough. Birdo finds his way over the wall and into safety. Cafe kills the jungler in the face of Spirit Breaker. There's a fight breaking out in this bot side as we see Super Fossing Note. And we see so much damage coming down on the Arch. And actually, D-Shot is able to secure it. Will Solbert be able to find the kill onto the Caitlyn? This trap is enough. And the Q comes out. It looks like Super Foss and D-Shot are the shining hope for their side.
Yeah, managing to get a kill back. But speaking of kills,
flash out from Spirit Breaker. No, surely not. Ooh, barely able to survive.
Birdo is here.
Yeah, Birdo is here, and it's just a dead Jace on my screen, surely. One more auto attack playing around the minions. It was a good try, but Spirit Breaker has his spirit broken once more. I'm going to use that pun for the last time. And it is a really good play coming out from the side of Inari, finally, but WLS still biting back.
Yeah, and I mean, look at the level leads. Look at the XP leads here from mid and jungle. You can already see level 6 to level 8. Let's hold that bot, Superfoss.
He's just deleted. There's no way out. It really well played from Arch. Just a good read on that bush. Actually perfectly timed. D-Shot gets away and isn't able to support his ADC. Sorry, super interrupted the point you were trying to get across, but this is just an insane lead for the side of WLS.
I mean, I was just going to point out that there is a 2-level lead at 12 minutes for both the junglers and the mid laners. Do you have any idea how hard it is as a jungle main myself to get a level lead like this early on in the game? It's really difficult. I have not seen a 2-level lead at 12.5 minutes for quite a long time, especially in a competitive match. So Birdo really putting on, it feels, a clinic in this jungle performance as Shidoko.
Ooh, maybe a little bit of a caster curse in this moment, as it does look like Cassiopeia has to flash away. but lying in wait is Birdo. The flash forward from D-Shot, it might be a little bit too ambitious as Birdo is lying in wait. Will just be able to find some damage on his Ezekiel. And yeah, it looks like Solbert is in the area, finds the flash forward. The R is enough to secure the kill. And will the Swain be able to find his way out of this one? I think not. Zeri lying in wait in the bushes. Arch does go over the wall to follow Shadow though. And honestly, at this point, I think Zeri's more ahead than Swain is in the solo lane.
Yeah, absolutely. They are just going to chase him down here. Birdo actually flashing for the kill. A little bit of ego style on Shadoku here. He does not care. But in the end, Arch will get the kill. But yeah, WLS are putting on an absolute show here in game 2. If game 1 toward the late game was a stomp, this game is the opposite of that. This early game has gone the way of WLS all the way. So they are just looking to continue that lead. Dragon spawning in about 15 seconds here. I have to imagine that WLS, they don't even really need vision around there. They know they're super far ahead. They know they have the ability to just win team fights. The best thing SSI can do right now is just try to look for an angle, probably give up this dragon and just count your days. Try and look for something to live to fight another day.
Yeah, you definitely have to be counting your lucky coins because in this game state, we were talking about, okay, well, Zazikel's just dead in his own jungle.
Oh my god.
Hextech Ultimatum's out. The EQ finds a little bit of damage and actually able to smite away the blue buff. Might even be able to find his way out of that one. Really well played from him to be able to get his blue buff finally, but having to fight that hard for your blue buff in your own jungle is honestly one of the worst feelings as a jungler.
Yeah, that is definitely, I feel, a testament to how this game is going. And I was talking about the importance of the Gore Drinker build. He did pick up the Serrated Dirk, but we haven't even talked about the fact that he actually has completed the Gore Drinker here, Birdo, on this Jarvan. So probably just looking for a little bit of early damage with that Dirk. It is one of the best mid components as we are fighting in the top lane, but Spirit Breaker takes a lot of damage.
Yeah, something we didn't even talk about as this game has moved into the middle stages is the fact that there's fighting in the bot side, there's fighting in the top side. I can't even think. Spirit Breaker's trying to find a little bit of damage, but we know how this played out last time. The Q is enough to secure the kill for Camille, and Superfoss is next on the chopping block for the side. Oh, the W doesn't quite land, and it doesn't look like Arch will be able to secure that one. But once more, WLS winning out on both sides of the map.
Yep, and now they're going to be able to transition this dragon. And again, they are just continuing to hammer away at Sensei Squad. Silver does not care. He's going in.
But will he die for it? No, he has the ultimate, and a really good block from Arch is able to save his life, or at least what could have been his life in this bottom side. Birdo is playing a little bit overconfident. This could backfire in... Okay, it doesn't look like it's going to backfire at all. He's just going to take the red buff in front of enemy jungler's face. He's 2 levels up. We were talking about the XP lead. It's absolutely monstrous. Moving towards 3 minutes now on that Cassiopeia Roa being completed. And then it could be towards a 3-4 level lead. It's just going to get out of hand so quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see that Birdo is actually just going to cross map, denying Ezekiel from getting into his jungle at all. This Jarvan is not allowed to farm. I love the pressure being exerted here by this Graves, just not giving Ezekiel Jarvan any time to breathe, taking away all his camps in front of his own face.
Really good toss back from Spirit Breaker. Does find a little bit of damage onto this Camille, but it will not be enough. Solbert barely surviving on 2 HP to save his top laner.
Yeah, really well played there from Spirit Breaker, honestly. But at this point, the enemy team is just so far ahead that it doesn't matter. The turret is dealing more damage than all of the members of Sensei Squad and Inari. And so it looks like Birdo, he knows he can just take this Herald. He knows he has basically free reign to do whatever he wants in this game.
The Q damage.
He's just going to take it. Yeah, the Q damage off the screen from this Camille is doing absolutely crazy numbers. As yeah, he's just gonna kill him.
Goodness. Where did that J4 go? Cafe is actually finding himself in a little bit of a pickle, and Solbert finds himself in some danger as well, but Birdo's here, and apparently scary enough to scare Spirit Breaker away from a 1v3. But this game will only get more out of hand, as we were talking about in the draft. The scaling is on the side of WLS, and they're already this far ahead. It does kind of have to be a miracle for Inari to be able to find their way back in.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 Heralds, 1 Dragon, and most likely going to get more with this next one spawning in a little under 2 minutes. It just feels like WLS have been dominating this game in its entirety, and it's made even worse by the fact that Birdo took the magical footwear, so he doesn't actually have to purchase the boots. So that gold lead is just continuously excelled just from the rune choices alone. You can see the item difference between this top side specifically, more specifically, the jungle and the mid. You can see PhD in mid lane has 2 items where Shidoku can barely even afford 1. And going back to, that gold lead, inherently PhD in mid lane doesn't have to build those boots on the Cassiopeia. A little bit of a passive diff there as, yeah, just continuing gold lead ascension along with experience. At this point, WLS can basically do whatever they want. They can just they're basically just waiting for end game objectives to start spawning. The Baron in a couple of minutes, the Dragon in about a minute, and after that, it's all their game.
Yeah, this is an absolute nightmare. I can't even overstate the 3 level gap in the jungle, the 3 level gap in the mid lane now that Roa has come all the way through for the Cassiopeia. But I guess your saving grace is this bottom lane for the side of Inari, right? Lux is 2 levels up on the Alistar. I'm not sure how much it'll matter, but Caitlyn's keeping in the game item-wise. You were mentioning. I feel like it's hard to look towards these things in a game like this, especially like if you're in a solo queue game, right? This is just spam FF type game. But you do need to look towards your saving graces, towards your lucky coins, and I think that's definitely where the eggs for the basket of Inari have gone. We'll have to see if it's able to play out for them in these team fights, if they can get the picks that they need. But even right now, you can see just the side of WLS moving in a giant walking death ball, and it's so hard to catch anyone out if they're fighting as 4.
Yeah, and they're doing a little bit of a 1-3-1 here. You can see that the Herald did charge in mid lane, so that turret is going to go down. The rest of the members, Solbert, Birdo, and Cafe Chocolate are here to try and exert some pressure, but they don't have a wave. The Dragon has also spawned. You can see PhD mid lane is in this bot lane. A little bit of a scuffle here.
Solbert just manhandling the J4 in his own jungle. He can't do anything about it. J4 trying to find some sort of flank, though. We were talking about a potential pick. Will he be able to find anything onto this Zeri in the mid lane? But towards the top side, the Hextech Ultimatum comes out. The flash forward from Graves. Birdo will have plenty of damage to secure that one. But will he get punished for diving so deep? D-Shot is in the area. The ultimate from Caitlyn, and it is secured by Super Foss. That's a really good shutdown going on to him. The flash forward from the Swain Shidoko shouldn't be able to find anything here as the blast cone is there. But really well played from the side of Inari to be able to finally pick up a kill, and definitely a huge misstep coming out from Birdo.
Yeah, WLS, they're a little bit bored. They just want the game to continue accelerating, but it looks like Sensi Squad and Inari, for the first time basically this game, have a chance to potentially accelerate the game further, as they are making their way to the Dragon, but just being zoned off by Solbert and Arch. But Solbert might have been picked.
No way, they got another pick. It's looking all up for the side of Inari as they do secure another one, and especially because it's onto this Caitlyn, onto, like I said, one of the saving graces of the side of Inari. This is an absolutely massive win for them 2 times in a row now. And like you said, I do think that WLS need to just calm down, start playing a little bit more methodically, because this cockiness could definitely backfire.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we saw that happen, except in reverse. SSI, they had an early game lead, but they just kept on going in, kept on throwing it, and we definitely don't want to see WLS sort of fall into that same trap. But it looks like they are honestly so far ahead that the trap is non-existent. They are just going to go for this Dragon, despite the fact that we saw Sensi Squad get 2 picks off. We are seeing top lane potentially die.
Yeah, Ultimatum comes down, but it looks like Cafe Chocolate has to try and find his way out of dodge. The EQ is still available for Zazikel, and it looks like a re-engage attempt coming out from Cafe, trying to just get Shidoko into the grave with him, but he will not quite be able to secure it, and it is a kill going over towards Zazikel. A massive shutdown on this J4, 450 gold in his pockets. And once more, they're finding a little bit back after losing so much in this early game and losing even more towards that bottom side.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you can see Ezekiel's inventory. He completely said, screw the Gore Drinker. I am going straight for the Spear of Sojin. So definitely have not seen that from Jarvan yet. But I suppose when you're this low economy and just bullied out of your jungle for the whole game, beggars can't be choosers. But at the same time, Birdo and the rest of the team that are available look like they are just going to go for this Baron.
I don't know if it's a good call. I mean, I guess
yeah.
I guess Camille has TP, right? She can just come. She hasn't quite TP'd, maybe waiting on another item to come in, or waiting for a really good TP towards maybe the bot side if she can. Really greedy actually is Cafe Chocolata, looking for something. But it's 4v4 for now. Swain's not in the area, doesn't have TP either. The Baron's very low. It does end up getting secured by Birdo, and the engage comes out from Cafe, but he's not moving for centuries. So it will be a good disengage coming out from the side of Inari, and I guess we could just do that. WLS can just take the Baron in front of their faces.
Yeah, WLS managing to get away the Baron, got the second Dragon, and now at this point I think they're looking to end the game. They have the Baron available, and this is the type of objective that you take when you really want this game to be over with. So I'm really looking for, you know, 1-3-1s, 4-1s. Neither solo laner actually have their TP available,
goodness.
so yeah, a lot of damage. Neither solo laner, though, on the side of WLS actually have the TP available, so if a fight does break out, it is going to take some time for them to join up with their team, but for the most part, honestly wouldn't be too concerned about that given the disengage from Solver and the escapability from Arch on this Zeri.
Yeah, that is also a 4-level lead for PhD in the mid lane. This Cassiopeia is a monster, and we're talking about exponential leads. We're talking about exponential gold differences earlier on. This XP gap is exponential. I mean, obviously, the higher your XP gets, the higher level you're achieving, the more XP it takes to be able to get to that level. So this late of a stage of the game, and you're 4 levels ahead is just absolutely insane.
Yeah, absolutely. PhD at mid lane putting on an absolute crazy performance on this Cassiopeia. And it's insane, too, because he's only gotten 2 kills. He's not been like a super fed carry, but he's applied so much pressure that honestly makes him seem like he's 10-0. So the fact that he's able to play like that despite not basically not being fed is a testament to, I feel, how this game is going as Cafe.
Cafe Chocolata, maybe a little bit overextending, but I guess Birdo's in the area. Solbert's looking to support his top laner in any way he can, in this instance with his HP bar. And they will be able to secure the mid inhibitor turret, the bottom inhibitor turret, and half of the top inhibitor turret. It looks like the base of Sensei Squad Inari is just crumbling all around them.
Yeah, for sure. And this is off the back of the fact that those waves are synced up, so they are able to put you know, equal pressure in every lane. And at this point, Sensei Squad and Inari are spread so thin that they're not able to respond with, you know, even remotely the same power that WLS are putting on here in this game too. And now they're just gonna farm up the jungle, go back for their camps, and you can see Birdo going to smite away that red buff at the last second. Arch gonna get some revenge actually and take away his Raptors. But yeah, for the most part, you can see Sensei Squad and Inari also trying to do the same, trying to farm up, trying to get any kind of gold lead they can before this game enters its end stages, before WLS try. But it might be too late.
Yeah, sometimes when you're looking for reprieve, you find yourself in an even more dangerous situation. As Ezekiel does find himself very low, this engage could be risky. It looks like the Camille will just absolutely one-shot the J4, and as the fight goes on, it looks like the Swain is caught in the middle of 3. The flash forward from the Jace isn't quite enough to find damage on the Camille. He will actually just end up dying for it, and a re-engage from the Zeri. It will be a slight Zeri moment coming out for Arch, as he does try and find a little bit of damage, but it's nowhere near enough to get any kills, in fact. And that fight went from bad to worse for the side of Inari, as off the back of what looked like a really good engage. I guess 2 for 2 is fine, but you're losing so much of your base for it.
I mean, yeah, 2 for 2 is good when you look at it from a gold perspective. At this point, any even trade is a trade in favor of Sensei Squad Inari. So yeah, they are going to be able to get some gold, but Shidoku is just dead instantly. And you can see the pressure this Casio is putting on. He's going more!
We were saying he was putting on a clinic, maybe a class, maybe a lecture. This guy actually has a doctorate in mid lane. I don't know what I'm watching. Oh, maybe he doesn't have a doctorate in surviving, as he does get engaged upon by Spirit Breaker. Spirit Breaker will fall, but Arch might actually get punished for the Cassiopeia's sins. Birdo is on the run, and he does have a TP coming out from the Camille, so he will be able to find his way out of that one. But 2 people dying due to a slight overextension from PhD. I think he might have gotten a little bit too hypey, seeing just how much damage he was doing.
Yeah, for sure. And now the Baron is away from WLS, and 2 members of their team are down. So it looks like they are just forced to fall back to that Dragon. They are now on Soul Point, but honestly, Soul Point, I feel doesn't even really matter in this game. It's just about the pressure that you're able to put on through push. It looks like
Um,
Cafe Chocolate wants a kill.
yeah, we're talking about pressure through push. I think this is the epitome of pressure. I haven't seen any more pressure in any game ever. You know, you're dying in your own base. You're dying next to your nexus, and your team is telling
Yeah.
you to play safe. You know, GG. I don't know what you want.
Yeah, and PhD in mid lane does have the TP available for himself, so if they want to maybe look for something here, they can, but it actually looks like they are just going to fall back. I really just want to see them to just take the dragon. Honestly, at this point, what else are you going to do? You basically have this game under your thumb. You're all but guaranteed to win it. Just basically let the minions do the tilting for you as they just swarm in like ants. And when
Yeah,
the next fight comes, they're going to be like, oh my god, there's so many minions.
I mean, I'm hearing the song Under Pressure in my head right now as they're clearing the minions, and it's honestly making me go a little bit insane, and that's just the song. I can't even imagine having to deal with this many minions. And especially at this
Yeah.
stage in the game, you're not even quite at the 30-minute mark, which is where most games, I would say, do end. But you're already dealing with double super minion waves. Look, they're not doing any damage to the minions. It's just so dreadful, and I do really think, like you said, all they have to do is stand next to the minions, clear the waves, and they will just passively win the game at this point.
Yeah, and you can see that the mid lane and bot lane waves are synced up here along with the top lane waves, so this is a lot of minions pouring into the
Yeah,
base.
here comes the final push, and it looks like Shidoko is trying to do all that he can to defend those Nexus turrets, but it will not be enough. He will get deleted, and I do think that this does mean that WLS will be moving on in this tournament. They will be securing the second win in this series. They're playing for the glory, but they will be securing the Nexus no matter what at this point in the game. And it does look like they will win this best of 3 series over Inari 2-0, just as I predicted.
Yep, we definitely didn't predict anything different. In fact, those caster predictions are actually reversed. The ones you saw at the beginning of the stream, we predicted 2-0, and the imposters of the other week, they predicted for the other team to win. So it looks
Mm.
like it is just going to be WLS with a very clean 2-0. Game one looked a little bit shaky in that early game, but other than that, that was really the only, weak point I could identify, not just through the games, but through the entire series. It looked like it was just their show throughout the entire broadcast, throughout the entire stream. And if I had to highlight an MVP, I don't know. I would honestly say it would probably be PhD in mid lane. It felt like he was ahead of the curve both games. It felt like Shidoku was not able to keep up with him throughout both games 1 and 2, and it just felt like he was putting on, like we said, an absolute clinic in his lane.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt MVP in that middle lane. And that was, I think, all coming down to that roam in the early game. I think when he moved on to the J4 with his support and was able to secure that kill onto Zezikill, I think that was the pivotal moment for him. It really just shook the foundations of the game towards him and put him in a position where he could carry. And we've definitely seen now that when he's in a position that he can carry, he definitely does put on a little bit of a clinic, proves that he earned that doctorate in school. So yeah, really well played from him. And obviously, there's plenty of people to look towards in that first game. I think Arch and Birdo definitely playing very, very well
Yeah.
and earning themselves a little bit of a spot up there in the MVPs for the series as well. But undoubtedly, if we had to only look at that second game, and if I had to argue over which player maybe made the most impact in all of the games combined, I think it would be PhD in that mid lane for me as well. But yeah, really well played from WLS. Obviously, Sensei Squad and Inari put on a little bit of a fight, but they definitely have to go back to the drawing board on that one and figure out a little bit of where their misgivings were because this gold graph is identical to game one.
Yeah, pretty much. It just felt like they were in control of the game pretty much the whole time, and I think it was more apparent in this game than the first one, obviously. But yeah, I mean, just looking at the damage graphs here, look at the amount of damage that Jarvan did. If you couldn't see it, that's okay because it basically wasn't there. 4.8k damage on the Jarvan was just locked out of his jungle the entire time, and I honestly kind of feel bad for Ezekiel a little bit. He was basically just, it's like you didn't pay rent that month and you're officially not, your tenant will not let you in the door, and the apartment is just the whole jungle. The whole jungle belonged to Birdo in that game too, on that Graves, and it just felt like his team was there to back him up, and anytime they tried to go in for a fight, they were just completely stopped in their tracks. So yeah, really well played here from WLS. We are actually going to get a quick little interview in here for this game. It's between Bird and Cafe, and I honestly really want to see I don't know, probably Birdo. I really want to know what his thoughts were in that game too, because honestly, like I was just talking about, he was a complete bully, and you want to talk to the bullies.
Yeah, you definitely want to pick their mind for a little bit of what their mindset was and why they had to be so mean. You know, why do you have to take the lunch money just because you can? You know, is it just because you have the ability to? And honestly, I do think it was a little bit on his team. The onus was not entirely on Zezikel for just letting his jungle go out and just be be on full display for Birdo to just walk right in. I do think that obviously WLS played really well around each other, around making things happen as a team, and obviously their cohesion as a team with Birdo as he does join the call.
They just no. They want Bird. They want to do it together. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'll drag them right now.
Okay.
It,
So this
it'll
is
be
Okay.
Solbert,
fun.
guys. This is Solbert, by the way.
All right. Here you go.
Okay.
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 Have
We got the
fun.
boys in here.
Boys.
Okay, Solbert's gone. We have the boys. We have Birdo and Cafe Chocolata. Welcome. Cafe, please tell me that I'm pronouncing your name right.
Yeah, you are. It's cafe,
Okay.
coffee in
Okay.
French, and then chocolate in Italian.
Of course, like why not mix languages? That's
Yeah, of course.
fantastic. We love that. How do you guys feel after such a great win?
Feels great. How about you,
Feels
Bert?
good. Always feels good.
Always feels good.
Can't boil it
Mhm.
down much more.
Okay, fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough.
I mean, I expect a formal apology from you, Birdo, to Ezekiel for that game too. You locked him out, man. You bullied the crap out of him. What the heck is wrong with you?
I had to teach him a lesson for playing Jarvan
What the heck, man? That's
because
brutal.
my team made me play it.
Oh, okay. So you had to show him why champ sucks. Is that what
Of
it was?
course,
Oh,
absolutely.
of course. Berto, I think I
Yeah.
actually saw you play at some point. I think it was like 6 months ago, 4 months ago or something. But you've definitely shown a lot of improvement, and I think you were a monster then. But this clinic that you put on in the jungle in game 2, it definitely made me rethink things. I thought, he's good on Graves. Graves has been fine in the meta. He's not insanely broken, but you're saying J4 is terrible. Do you think Graves is just a monster, or did you just pop off?
I don't necessarily think Graves is good, but he definitely has his place. I think if you're good on Graves, you can make him look good.
Fair enough.
Added on, appreciate the words of praise from earlier. I think it must have been from earlier. I believe maybe the previous season of Risen where we won it. Was that the one you were talking about?
It might have been, yeah. I can't remember, but I think it was like semifinals, and I was casting with Mars. I think that's what it was. But yeah, moving on towards that top side, Cafe. What were your thoughts playing into the Jace? How do you feel about that whole matchup?
Well, I found out 20 minutes before the series that they needed me to play. I don't play top lane. I haven't played top lane in 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh my
but
god.
I'm multi-role talent. I usually play support.
He's actually just 1v9.
Okay,
Yeah,
so everybody's just role swapping in your team. I see how it is. Okay.
So I've played 3 roles on this team now as a sub. I subbed in for support last split. I subbed in for jungle last split, and now I subbed in for top lane. So I'm just kind of trying to collect them all. But I mean, when I played top lane like 2 years ago, and I was winning Masters leagues and whatnot. So like I'm not bad at it. It's just I haven't played it in a while. And then I think the guy I was playing against today, I don't know if he's like top lane main or not, but he looked a little lost. I won't lie.
Oh,
Yeah, I
no.
will say it was.
I mean,
I will say it's much easier to bully them when our top lane just destroying the other guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess going off of that, are there any like picks that you want to really pull out, with the remainder of this season ahead of you, Cafe, or do you feel like the current pool that you displayed in this series and in the previous series is kind of what you think you'll be sticking with?
So I was pretty confident. Like I play all 5 roles to like at least like I would say like a D3, D2 level probably. So I play like every champ in the game. I was trying to get into Fury this game for game 2, but
That would have been awesome.
the pieces didn't really align. But like when I played top lane previously, my pool was like Gangplank, Kale,
But you can't
Ivern.
release these strats.
I mean, I don't
Leaks.
care. I'm not gonna play anymore. Gangplank, Kale, Ivern, like those kinds of like bully champs.
Ivern.
Yeah,
Ivern.
yeah. Ivern is a lane bully. I'm gonna be honest with you.
What the heck?
I believe it.
Oh my gosh, so many leaks coming out.
Yeah, for real. When he swaps to jungle role, and you're benched,
What's
Yeah.
funny is I
It's
I played
crazy.
against Birdo in a league.
Oh my
in,
goodness. Was it
in
Solbert as
CCS
well?
Diamond. Yeah, it was We Love Solbert, and I was playing on Dorado Gaming Zeta at the time.
I
But
think I actually watched We Love Solbert. I think that's what it was.
but Birdo's gotten a lot better since then as well, obviously, and I haven't really changed. I'm kind of the same player. But every time I play with and like I watch Birdo, he's always getting better. So
Oh wow, such high praise in front of everyone. Berto, how do you feel? You blushing a little bit?
I'm actually speechless.
Yeah.
well,
Well.
Yeah, Quacks.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you guys played amazing. I mean, it was such a good show to watch. First game, obviously, I think a little bit more shaky than the second one, but you guys definitely showed that you figured out the number of Sensei squad in that second game, and just definitely kudos. Obviously, everybody else who played on the team that isn't in this call, Solbert, who popped in a little bit earlier. I think I watched him with Berto last time. Just really well played. Quacks, do you have anything else to add or any more questions for them?
No, it was just a really fun series to cast, a really fun series to watch, and I wish you guys the best in the remaining weeks of the playoffs. And I hope to see you guys again. I'm sorry, the regular season, and I hope to see you guys again in the playoffs because you guys definitely put on a show, and I have no doubt that you guys will be a team that'll be improving as the weeks go by.
Yeah, appreciate it. Shout out to you guys. I always enjoy rewatching the stream for the casts. I will say shout out to my team as well. It sucks for our bot lane because they picked Zeri, Alster into Kate Lux, but they played the role very well. Same with mid lane. They played very well considering the matchup, and same with mid lane, holding it down and solo killing him too. Everyone played well, and we also have obviously the multi-role talent in Coffee. So
yeah, I played 27 games of solo queue in the last 2 days.
A lot of us are running on. Yeah, a lot of us are running on no
hours.
sleep.
Yeah.
That's right. I think 3 of us are running on like 3 hours of sleep or something.
I played 24 solo queue games yesterday, so I'm a little burnt out. But yeah, shout out to the team. I love playing for this team and playing with Solbert. Like I always love subbing in. It's always fun.
Yeah, well then we'll let you guys get out of here. You're talking about being burnt out. You guys go party, enjoy the win, and go get some sleep. Honestly, guys, come on. We're league players, but we gotta seem like we're humans.
You need to be a life coach, dude.
But yeah, thank you guys. And Quacks, I think we're gonna sign out in just a second.
Yeah, absolutely. So, thank you everyone for watching this stream. Again, fun games to cast, fun games to watch, and we will not be back next week. We'll be back actually on week number 5. So catch us then. But in the meantime, have fun with the casters for next week. Show them some love, show them some support, and we'll see you guys all again in a couple of weeks. See you around.